state of the badass art. You do not want to fuck with me.
20 minutes later.
You know, Aliens vs. Predator is a series I'm a bit surprised we haven't seen more of in gaming. I mean, in the past few years we've gotten Aliens Fireteam Elite and Predator Hunting Grounds, both of which were pretty well received amongst fans of those franchises. We've also gotten some fairly decent movies in those franchises recently, with Prey, at least in my opinion, being the best Predator movie since the original.
You're goddamn right.
And Alien Romulus was pretty good. But it's been quite some time since we've gotten an AVP game or a movie, with the last movie being in 2007 and the last game in 2010. And while I definitely remember the movie being total shit, I remember the 2010 AVP game being a lot of fun.
Wrong!
Well, I gotta say, after finishing all three campaigns, I definitely don't agree with that 90% very positive on Steam. But I do think that the 2010 AVP game lays a lot of groundwork for what a future AVP game should and shouldn't do. And, I mean, look, I've got a lot to say, so let's just jump right into it, shall we?
Let's rock!
So, the general premise of the game is that the Weyland-Yutani Corporation is back on their bullshit of building better worlds. And this time, they've located a sacred temple and hunting ground for the Predators, where they test their skills against xenomorphs.
That's gotta hurt! It's gotta hurt!
There are three separate campaigns, one for the Predator trying to retrieve stolen ancient artifacts back from Weyland-Yutani, one for the Xenomorph who's escaped captivity, and finally one for a Colonial Marine who's showed up after receiving a distress call from the planet. And each of these are varied with totally different playstyles and tools to use, but happen across the same general locations.
It's gotta hurt!
And I think the best place to start is with the Colonial Marine campaign. This one is easily the longest campaign, being about 2.5 to 3 hours long, and in my opinion, is also probably the most fun. You play as just some Marine, affectionately referred to as Rookie by everyone you come across.
That means you too, Rookie.
Rookie, you still with us?
It's up to you now, Rookie. Get your ass to admin pronto.
And, like, while I can appreciate having named protagonists in any game, I actually think it's really appropriate to play as just some dude, because it really puts you in the shoes of someone who's just in the wrong place at the wrong time, trying to make it out alive. You're easily outmatched, constantly watching other Marines get taken out.
Fuck this.
So it kind of makes sense that you should feel like you could easily be next, unprotected by, like, plot armor.
He's right, you know.
Of course, there is plot armor, like here when a Predator decides to grab you and throw you instead of just taking you out immediately. But still, I appreciate that you're just some guy, similar to the unnamed Doom Marine, another nobody who was just trying to make it out of a bad situation. Just like in any other Aliens game, you're gonna be shooting a ton of Xenos. And I actually think that the shooting here is really good. Certainly a lot better than the gunplay in Colonial Marines. You get access to plenty of weapons here, and they're mostly useful. There's the classic M41A pulse rifle, 10mm with over and under 30mm pump-action grenade launcher.
Get away.
Okay, what do I do?
As well as a pump-action shotgun, you know, for close encounters.
I'd like to keep this handy for close encounters.
Which I think, too, is the shotgun from Alien Resurrection. You know, the weird one.
Brother, what's that?
But then there's also a 3-round burst pistol, a flamethrower, a scoped rifle, and the smart gun. And most of these are pretty excellent. The pulse rifle looks and sounds great, and the shotgun does a ton of damage, being able to unload 2 shells at once.
Nice.
The scoped rifle is strong, but has a low ammo capacity and is pretty use case scenario, like dealing with the acid spitters. The smart gun is an absolute blast to use, honestly, when you get to use it, which is pretty rare. The flamethrower is easily the worst weapon, taking forever to put down regular enemies and having flames that honestly just kind of look terrible.
What do you say, Toby? The truth.
Looks like shit.
It does look like shit.
Even the pistol seems to have better damage, despite being exclusively a backup weapon with unlimited ammo. And you're likely going to at least test all of these weapons, if only because the game gives you a set loadout at the start of each mission, which, to be honest, I found a bit annoying. I'd get my hands on a shotgun just to be given a scoped rifle against my will, and have to relocate another boomstick as soon as I was able to. It's also worth mentioning that there are no hit markers, and thank God for that. That was a huge problem of mine in Colonial Marines. Here, you know when you're hitting the Xenos. Oftentimes, when killed, they'll let out a screech and explode. And sometimes you'll blow their legs clean off and they start to drag themselves towards you. And that's just to say that both weapon and damage feedback are really good here. And speaking of, xenomorphs feel like a real threat, being fast and hard to take down. They can do a ton of damage when you're not careful, and can often easily overwhelm you. They also retreat and reposition themselves often, making them feel intelligent and super dangerous. At one point in time, I was making my way through some ruins with an AI teammate, and he was constantly checking his surroundings, making him feel like a real person who, you know, doesn't want to fucking die.
We got this, man. Dead meat.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.
And at some point, I lost track of him just to get a message from someone saying that I was now alone.
I'm sorry, Private. You are alone.
I'm in danger!
And while I think Alien Isolation is still one of the scariest games I've played, this right here sent a chill down my spine. And all of this is just to say that the Marine campaign gets a lot right. Aliens are terrifying and the situation feels dire. Gunplay is satisfying and weapons are mostly quality over quantity.
What do you say, Toby? The truth.
Looks like shit.
But just like Colonial Marines, the developers at Rebellion decided that we really needed to also have combat against human-type enemies. And this is something I'll never quite understand. I mean, we're already fighting xenomorphs, the damn place is infested by them, they're coming out of the goddamn walls, and I get that there are story reasons for these guys being here. They're basically Weyland-Yutani security. But fighting them is absolutely terrible. They do a ton of damage and they're hard to put down. They just kind of feel tedious to fight against. And I guess you could argue that they offer more enemy variety, but I don't think an Aliens game really needs more variety other than the xenomorphs. And maybe some people will welcome a change of pace by fighting the androids. I mean artificial persons, sorry.
I prefer the term artificial person myself.
But I came here because I heard we got another bug hunt.
Excuse me, sir. A what?
A xenomorph.
It's a bug hunt.
And of course, this is an Aliens vs. Predator game, and when it comes to the Predator stuff, I'm a bit conflicted. You actually only deal with the Predator once in a boss fight. Before this boss fight, you can find signs that the Predator has been there, like finding his blood or hanging corpses that he skinned, but that's kind of just about it.
Gross.
Then you get the boss fight where you have to dodge his plasma cannon blasts and shoot him when you can see him. Occasionally he'll run off to heal and you just kinda have to try and find him. And this isn't bad, but I think it's a bit simple. I could have easily seen a scenario where you have to somehow mask your body heat in order to draw him out and fight him, or maybe trigger a water source to remove his active camo. But what we have is a boss fight that can be ended in a couple of minutes, and later on there's a boss fight with Wayland that is genuinely terrible. I mean, it essentially is just chasing him around the statue with a shotgun. I mean, it's pathetic.
It's pathetic.
So overall, I think the Marine campaign is the most straightforward one and does the most right. It's by no means a masterpiece, but I think it's a lot better than Colonial Marines.
I'm literally crying over my nails right now because they're so ugly. Oh my god, okay. This is what I wanted, okay? This is the pastels, and this is what I got.
Now, since the Marine campaign was the best part, I think it feels appropriate to discuss the worst part, and that's the Alien campaign, or as I like to call it, Motion Sickness Simulator 2010.
It's hiding someplace.
Over there. Go down, will you?
Hear that?
Like I said earlier, the Alien campaign has you playing as a xenomorph who's escaped captivity, and being led by the Queen, you make your way through the levels, killing Marines and infecting as many hosts as you can, all while remaining as stealthy as you can.
It's here, it's here.
The Alien campaign is easily the shortest one, being about 90 minutes, depending on how fast you figure out some of the puzzles and how often you die. As the Alien, you're able to crawl on any surface, you can jump between walls and travel through tunnels. You have a light and a heavy attack to deal with enemies, but you're mostly going to be stealthing around and doing these one-hit takedowns when you're behind enemies. You're incentivized to take out lights and hide in darkness, as well as lure enemies to areas to do stealth takedowns, but a lot of this feels kind of super janky and just unpolished or poorly thought out. Encounter areas feel a bit too small for you to really isolate and kill enemies, and crawling on walls can be really disorienting and confusing. And unfortunately, you have to actually be on the ground and behind enemies to kill them with a stealth takedown. And while these takedowns do look super gnarly and are fun when you successfully pull them off, they almost always led to me being killed thanks to how small the spaces are. Enemies can shoot you while you're locked in any animation, so doing these stealth takedowns led to a lot of frustrating deaths. And what I don't get is why you have to be on the ground when you could easily drop onto someone or lift them up with your tail. It was just super frustrating down to the core design.
He's right, you know.
It was never fun to fiddle with the wall transitions, drop down for a takedown, and get seen by an enemy who wasn't even there until now. And this could have been alleviated by having those contextual takedowns from any surface. Like, what if I could pull an enemy into a vent as they pass by, or lift him to the ceiling with my tail and punch through his skull with that secondary mouth? You can see how with some camera adjustments and a more flexible stealth kill system, this really could have been a lot of fun. But as it is, it's just kind of nauseating and frustrating. And just like the Marine campaign, there's a Predator boss fight, and actually in the same location, funny enough. And this boss fight isn't bad, but it does take forever to whittle down the Predator's health. And there's two of them, so it's hard to tell which one is being worked on. You just sort of have to keep working at them with takedowns until they die. I can see glimpses of what they wanted to do here, but it's just too finicky and frustrating to have any real fun, and I hate to say that the best thing I can really say about it is that it's brief. Alright, so now we're down to the last campaign, The Predator. And this one was the most frustrating one to play, because it never lives up to what it could have been. At so many opportunities, I can see where something really cool could have been done, but it just never reaches that potential. As the Predator, you show up to set some things right that the Weyland-Yutani company fucked up. You'll fight xenomorphs and hunt marines over what's about a 2-hour campaign. You'll be doing a lot of fighting up close with what are some admittedly pretty sick wrist blades. You have a light attack, a heavy attack, and a block. And after doing so much damage, you can do a really cool takedown on an enemy, be that human or bug. You'll rip people's spines out and break the spines of xenomorphs. They're all super fucking cool, honestly. But what happens is that you get locked into that animation and you'll continue to take damage. So these combat takedowns are completely fucking pointless. They got me killed every single time unless it was on a final enemy, and this frustrated me to no end. When these animations are so cool, it felt terrible to be punished every single time I wanted to use one. And I guess maybe it's to keep you from going from enemy to enemy, taking them out with 0 damage being done to you, but I felt like I earned it after successfully parrying an attack or doing a proper combo. I would much rather be able to kill everyone and see these really cool, gory animations instead of resorting to just beating their asses like they owe me money or said that my dreadlocks looked stupid.
You're one ugly motherfucker.
Of course, you have other tools at your disposal, including the Plasma Blaster, the Smart Disc, mines, and the Combat Stick. All of these, except the Combat Stick, pull from an energy bar that can only be recharged by finding power sources to draw from, and you can use all of these in tandem with your wrist blades to take out enemies in straight up combat or stealth. And stealth is a major part of this campaign, just like in the Alien one. You can leap from tree branch to branch like in the movies, you can isolate enemies with that voice synthesizer, and you can take them out with takedowns or other tools. And the takedowns in stealth are also really cool, with enemies having some extremely realistic reactions like panicked eyes and getting their breath knocked out of them when stabbed in the back.
Multiple casualties. Anybody still alive? Report in.
But I have the same problem here as I do with that Alien campaign, and that's a lack of contextual takedowns. I mean, the Predator is a natural hunter. That's like their whole deal. So it beats the hell out of me why he can't kill an enemy by dropping down on him or pulling him up to the tree branch. You have to drop down to the ground and get right up behind them to get that animation. And I think too that it's a real shame that you can't skin enemies or take trophies. I can see in a game where you could have hung up enemies to cause panic and fear amongst the Marines, or maybe you earn XP or ability points or something like that by taking trophies from high value targets. And actually, as I played, I started to realize that what I wanted this campaign to be was essentially an immersive sim, where the player is presented with a large arena or encounter area, and you can really use all the tools that you have to complete your objective. So if we ever get another single-player Predator game, like Concrete Jungle, I think that's exactly what I want. Give me Dishonored, but make it Predator.
That's a great idea. I'm with that.
But we don't have an immersive sim Predator game here. Instead, it's a frustratingly simple experience, culminating in a boss fight against the Pred Alien. And this is another just not very good boss fight. It's in a volcano or something, and ended with me just throwing my combat stick at the Pred Alien until it stopped throwing its little temper tantrums. So overall, I really hate to say that this game is definitely not as good as I remembered it being. It's short, simple, and oftentimes frustrating at how it neglects some pretty obvious design choices. I mean, the Predator can't even use that sick fucking net from the movie. And I think some people genuinely won't be able to finish the Alien campaign if they easily get motion sickness.
Take it apart.
But what it really shows to me is that a good AVP game is very much possible. And despite its flaws, I'd really like Rebellion to take another crack at it, because AVP deserves to have a good game.